Hello everybody, and welcome to another episode of Better Know a Highway, here on Virtual Road Trip, a series where we take a closer look at the interstates and highways that cross this vast country of ours. In this episode, we'll be exploring a highway in the true center of the country, as well as having our first visit to Oklahoma, Interstate 44. And real quick, before we get started, just wanted to remind you to please hit that like button and subscribe to this channel. Always appreciate that. Make sure to check out the VRT Discord, link in the description below. And if you want to support this channel, you can join as a member for just $2.99 a month by clicking the join button below. And I definitely appreciate that. And with all that out of the way, let's get started. Interstate 44 is a generally northeast to southwest oriented highway in the central United States. It runs for a total of 637 miles through 3 states, although primarily through just 2. From its eastern end all the way to Oklahoma City, I-44 follows the path of the original U.S. Route 66, the famous road that brought travelers west in the early days of automobiles. Although it no longer exists, having been decommissioned in 1985, US 66 is still commemorated along the way for its entire former route, much of which is seen along many parts of I-44. Starting at the eastern end, the first state I-44 traverses is Missouri, where it runs across the entire state for 293 miles. The eastern terminus of I-44 is within the city of St. Louis, not far from the banks of the Mississippi River, at a junction with a long-running I-70, with 44 heading south and quickly reaching the city core, passing just to the east of it. Passing the major landmarks of downtown St. Louis just to the east, and running just to the west of the famous Gateway Arch, 44 soon junctions with 2 interstates, I-64 and I-55, and has a short concurrency with the latter of the two, as both head southwest. 44 splits off from I-55 after about a mile together, and heads west on its own, traversing the dense residential neighborhoods of southern central St. Louis. 44 then snakes and winds its way in a more southwestern direction and enters into more suburban terrain, and eventually junctions with the western beltway spur I-270. Once past here, 44 crosses the Merrimack River and then goes through a large industrial park, after which it enters more sparsely populated lands as it heads deeper into the state. Now out of the St. Louis area, 44 continues on a roughly southwest direction, traversing rural areas interspersed with smaller towns and cities, such as St. Clair and Sullivan, until eventually reaching the city of Rolla, Missouri, skirting the city just to its northern side, and having a junction with US Route 63, which leads to the nearby downtown area. Moving on, 44 continues on a generally southwest path, with some stretches being more due west, while also passing yet more small towns and cities, this time places such as Lebanon and Marshfield, and then soon after, reaching a larger city, Springfield, Missouri, where, much like the last time, it skirts just to the north of it. Although there are no interstate junctions in this area, 44 has a significant intersection with US Route 65, which is of great importance as it leads travelers south about 40 miles to the resort city of Branson, a major tourist destination in the area. Past here, 44 enters the southwestern corner of Missouri, and soon reaches its final major settlement within the state when it enters the Joplin area. First, however, 44 junctions with Interstate 49, which comes in from the north after passing the nearby city of Carthage. The two routes then run concurrent for roughly 6 miles, before 49 breaks off, heading due south, while 44 stays on a western path, still south of Joplin and connected directly to it via Business Loop 44. After turning away from Joplin and going back into the countryside, it's not long after where 44 finally leaves the state and enters Oklahoma, very close to a nearby state border tri-point. I-44 makes a long curved path from the northeast corner to the southern border of the Sooner State, for a total of 329 miles. Most of 44's route within Oklahoma, like many routes within the state, is tolled and exists as a series of connected turnpikes separated by short freeway sections. The first of these, that 44 runs concurrent with, is known as the Will Rogers Turnpike. Entering the state a short distance from the notorious ghost town of Pitcher, Oklahoma, 44 runs to the southwest past places such as Miami and the many Indian reservations in the area, including the lands of the Cherokee Nation. After running a winding path through the vast rural lands and heading deeper into the state, 44 reaches the Tulsa metro area and the terrain quickly becomes more populated. Just before reaching the city, 44 makes a sudden turn to the south and then a turn due west after a junction with US Route 412. This area is of note for two reasons. First, it marks the end of this tolled section of 44, as well as the Will Rogers Turnpike itself. It's also the location of a piece of abandoned section of I-44, bypassed when a newer and more well-designed junction was built just to the east. Today, the remnants of this section still exist. Now on a due west path, 44 soon reaches a junction with the Beltway spur I-244, which heads directly into downtown Tulsa, while 44 itself takes a path to the south of the city and stays within the large suburban neighborhoods on the outskirts. 44 then crosses the Arkansas River over one of its wider points, and soon after meets back up with the I-244 spur, thus completing the Beltway. After this, 44 leaves the Tulsa area, passing a few smaller satellite cities such as Sapulpa, and then back into the vast rolling hills of central Oklahoma. 44 becomes a tolled highway once again, this time known as the Turner Turnpike, and continues in a curving southwestern direction, passing places such as Bristow and Stroud along the way, all the while traversing the endless plains and vast farm country. As 44 begins to reach the heart of the state, it enters its next major metro area of the capital Oklahoma City. Initially upon entering the region, 44 junctions first with a cutoff spur, I-335, which heads south. Then, it has a junction with the major north-south running I-35. Here, 44 turns south to run concurrent with it. The Turner Turnpike ends and another freeway section begins, with the spur I-344 continuing in a straight western direction. After a short pairing of about 4.5 miles, 44 breaks off and resumes a western course, traversing to the north of downtown OKC. Another sudden turn south brings 44 even closer to the city core, although it never enters it proper. Soon after, 44 has another significant junction, this time with the major east-west running I-40, and immediately after crosses the Oklahoma River, and then meets up with another spur, I-240. A short concurrency with it brings 44 further south and directly past Oklahoma City International Airport. After a second river crossing, this time over the Canadian River, 44 makes a turn finally back to its normal southwest direction and proceeds to leave the OKC area and head for the southern part of the state. Now a third tollway section begins, this time known as H.E. Bailey Turnpike, which exists in two sections with the freeway portion in the middle and ending just before the state line. Heading southwest, 44 enters the changing terrain of the High Plains, a drier region of the state, and passes places such as Chickasha and Elgin, before making a turn due south and reaching the aforementioned freeway gap. 44 then enters the vicinity of the city of Lawton, the largest settlement on this section of the highway. Passing the city on its eastern side, and acting as a dividing line between human development and rural plains, 44 curves around Lawton, and after a few exits to local US routes, it leaves the area and heads back into empty terrain, still heading due south. The last section of 44 within Oklahoma is uneventful, not passing any major settlements of note, while crossing several smaller rivers and creeks. After a modest distance, the highway reaches the much larger and wider Red River, which acts as the southern state border. 44 then crosses it and continues into its final state of Texas. I-44 has a very short trek within the northern lands of the Lone Star State, for only 15 miles, mostly serving the Wichita Falls region. Upon crossing the Red River, 44 passes the smaller city of Burke-Burnett and then continues south. It's not long after where the highway reaches the populated lands of the aforementioned city of Wichita Falls, first passing near the local city airport, then further into the downtown area itself. After crossing the nearby Wichita River, 44 enters downtown and finally terminates just before the roadway splits into two separate elevated arterials that service the city core, with US Route 277 continuing on for travelers heading further in that direction. This thus ends I-44's impressive 637-mile run. And that will put a bow on this episode of Better Know a Highway. Really hope you enjoyed and hope you learned a little something along the way, as always. And hey, before you go, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to this channel. Always appreciate that. Make sure to join the VRT Discord. Link is in the description below, and I hope to see you there for some interesting discussion. And lastly, if you want to support this channel, you can join as a member by clicking the join button below. And I want to send a big thank you to all my members that you see here on this list. We have slowly yet surely been gaining members, and I truly appreciate your support. It really makes this channel possible. So a big thank you to all of you, I really mean it. And now, with all that out of the way, make sure you enjoy the ride, and up next, it's a big one, Interstate 40, and I'll see you then.